What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with Tech Solutions, and my special guest today is
Miranda.
Yep. So do you want to talk about where do you go to school and what kind of interested you in getting started in learning more about the stock market?
Definitely. So I go to Northern Arizona University and I am a senior. I'm just mostly interested in the stock market because I'm a finance major and I was originally supposed to get a certificate in investments that kind of fell through, but I'm still very interested in investing in the stock market and just kind of being a little bit more autonomous. So I think the stock market and day trading and stuff like that is a very good option.
Sweet. So one thing that I was telling her right before we started this video, what was I doing?
Trading.
What did I just close?
A very successful trade.
So I just closed. You guys should be able to see the pop-up right here. A little bit over $1,200 on one trade that I bought today and sold today. It's called ticker symbol UGAZ. And one of my main, I sold way too early, right? So we saw that it still pushed up about another $2 from where I sold. So one of the things that I was telling her is that she's a finance major, very broad major, right? The same thing with a lot of people that are wanting to learn more about either business or investing. I want you guys to know that the concepts that I'm going to talk about today are not only principles and best practices that I use when it comes down to, investing in the stock market, but on top of that, I think that there's some form of patterns, directions, and good deals, which are the three topics that we're going to cover today that I use when it comes down to investing in real estate, when it comes down to investing in cars. I think investing in general, as long as you understand patterns, which means trends, right? When you understand direction, making sure that you're buying where there's, the reason that I focus so much on direction is oh, Miranda, you work really hard for your money, right? So if you fund your account $5,000, your whole premise of you starting to invest is to grow your account, right? So what direction does that look like? If you're going from 5,000 to 20,000, that's showing signs of an uptrend, right? So it makes sense to invest in patterns that are showing signs of growth as well. And then the last thing is, I don't know about you, but I love getting good deals. So,
who doesn't?
Right? So it's the best thing. I call our Learn Plan Profit group and our Tech Solutions group. And Miranda today is going to be our newest member of the Deal Hunters. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today, talking about good deals, talking about patterns, talking about directions, and why it's so important. The general idea, regardless if you guys choose to implement this in the stock market, that's irrelevant. I think that these patterns, these best practices, and these overall systems are something that you can incorporate into your day-to-day life when wanting to learn more about either starting a new business, investing in another market. So I'm really excited to share this with you, and then we can kind of go from there. She's also going to be asking questions as you literally just opened up a TD Ameritrade paper trading account, but you just opened it and then didn't touch it.
Opened it and that was pretty much it.
Yeah. Hey, that's the first step. I think we all have to admire that that's a step that maybe some of you that are watching have not taken. So I hope that with what we talk about today and the video that I directed you to about how to set up your TOS is something that could at least spark some interest in at least getting that ball rolling for you.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about patterns. And you said that you have a general understanding of support and resistance, right? Mm-hmm. Can you tell me why, and again, this is a very broad question, so if you can answer it, that's fine. Okay. But why is it so important for if you want to invest in something, so let's say the housing market, if you understood patterns, why is it so, why is that important?
Just so you can, historically, if you look at patterns, you can kind of tell where the market's going.
Yeah.
Kind of have a decent idea of trends, like you said. So yeah, I just think it'll give you a good idea of when you need to buy and sell based on
I think that's the easiest way to put it is people really try to overcomplicate. There's so many patterns out there. I think if you keep it as simple as, again, why do you look at patterns is to identify, is it a buyer's market or a seller's market, right? In 2008, it was super overextended. It makes sense on why it was due for a pullback, and it was definitely in that seller's market, right? Then after 2010, 2011, huge pullback, became super oversold, and it made sense on why that was a good deal. So all the people that understood that pattern, that saved their money, were able to buy up a bunch of houses that were super inexpensive, and being able to sell it, a couple years later for a much larger return. Same thing when it comes down to investing in the stock market. I know that obviously it's much more volatile with what we just saw with ticker symbol UGAZ and how it pushed up so aggressively. But even with let's say I want to talk about three patterns. I want to talk about uptrend patterns, I want to talk about downtrend patterns, and horizontal patterns. Just keeping it that simple. So you guys should be able to see a couple signs or examples of what an uptrend, downtrend, and horizontal pattern looks like. You're gonna have to practice a little bit more. So this video is really just to provide you with a very general understanding. Same thing with you. But as long as you're aware of those patterns, I'm gonna talk about the principles of each specific pattern and how is it that I read them. So when it comes down to a day trade, so DGAS just broke above 820, and luckily I just took a position on DGAS. So I don't know if you remember, but I bought the dip on it. So now we're up on that.
Now it's going up.
Yeah. But one thing that I want to talk about is, this is a perfect example. You know, looking at the 1 day, 1 minute chart, looking at again, it's not a perfect picture. So the pictures that you guys probably saw is probably like a really perfect picture of a horizontal support and horizontal resistance. That's a pretty picture. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way. Looking at this and seeing that again, like this, these are the high points, right, where it kind of hit. These are kind of like the low points of where ticker symbol DGAS hit as well. What do you see as in like, when would be a better time to buy? So focusing on ranges. So if you were to draw a support line and a resistance line, where would you draw a support line and where would you draw a resistance line?
Just for this little section.
Yeah, you just click on where you think, and then you can drag and drop like that.
Well, that's exactly where I would put it.
So I think that's a resistance, right? It's an area where it's not so much of a good deal, where it normally gets rejected and probably more of that seller's range, right? And when it comes down to a support, it's more of where there's a where it tends to bounce, right? Where you see more of where something is a little bit more on the oversold side and a better deal. So I think with that being said, at around $8 for this specific ETF today, that tends to be a support. When it pushes above $8.75, so here, when it pushes up above there and around $8.75 and higher, it becomes a little bit more overbought. Not so much of a good deal. So understanding this pattern, I could be like, okay, so if I'm trying to do, we just did an analysis, and now we're trying to decide when is it a good time to buy and when is it a good time to sell. Now we identified the low points. Screw calling it support and resistance. Call it low points and high points. Keep it super simple, right? Okay. What are the low points of ticker symbol DGAS? So around what range?
So right there. I
so
honestly can't read
$7.76.
Low to buy.
Yep.
And then
the high is around $8.80 plus, right? So these, I like to focus and call these like ranges. So I don't like to focus on exact price points because it's never going to always bounce exactly at a specific area. But like I can put a thing from like around $8.12 to like $7.80, that there's this range where it's considered a good deal. And then there's this range from like, what is it? What would this be? It would be like $8.70 to about $9 that would be viewed as more of a sell. So again, this range is sell territory, and this range could be called as buy territory. So now that you did your analysis, you broke down where's the low points, where the high points are, you just identified a pattern. Where it normally bounces at, where it normally peaks out at. That's a horizontal pattern. You just did your analysis. That's done on that. Okay. Now I like to focus on direction. So you want your account to grow. I want my account to grow. I work really hard for money, you work really hard for your money. And we want to make sure that we do everything within our power and to our understanding that we try to grow that money. So what direction does growth look like? Up, right? Yeah. So one of the biggest mistakes, the reason I say that, and it's so simple to say like, okay, of course
it's up.
But so many people, as they're just getting started, either always try to buy the dips, right? Try to predict reversals. They focus and invest in patterns that are pump and dumps and that someone else is promoting, right? So it might be showing signs of an uptrend, but there's some form of manipulation going on, and it's not a good deal, or they don't understand the pattern. The reason that I focus so much on direction is that if I want to grow my account, I want to focus on patterns that are showing signs of growth. And like looking at ticker symbol DGAS and how it's sold off, now it's starting to make higher highs, which means that the highs are getting higher and higher, and when it pulls back, it doesn't go as low. Do we see this? It doesn't go as low as it went before. So the reason that that's so important to me is, as this thing was selling off, some people probably were like, okay, I think it's gonna bounce off the middle view up, I'm gonna buy here. But guess what happened? It continued to sell off, right? And then I'm gonna buy here. It continued to sell off. It wasn't until it broke above this EMA line, which is this blue line that you see right here, and the actual direction began to change. What direction is this thing headed?
Down.
Down.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until the direction completely changed, that it made sense on why it could be a good potential investment. So let's just keep that in mind, and let's go to the next one. Okay. A good deal. And these all really go really well together, because again, if you could identify a good deal, if you understand the pattern and you understand that you're invested in it when it's showing signs of an uptrend, that means a good deal means that the margin of profit is worth it, that it's like you could buy it and sell it for more.
Right. Okay.
Wouldn't this show some form of quality that, like, okay, based off previous patterns, right? Its direction is now pointing up, and, you know, looking at, I'm going to change my drawing to, so it's going to go trend line. It calculates the margin of profit that is left. So based on the current price point right now, even if it ends up going to, let's say, not even 870, not even like every time that it's peaked out there, it's hit that price point 3 times today, not 3 weeks ago, but today. So it's relevant patterns. Okay. I'm going to say that even if I sell even below that at $8.65, that margin of profit is 5.65%. So to put that into perspective with how much I'm trading, if I were to put, like, let's say even $30,000 into that, do you know how much 5% would be?
I'm not good at basic math.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. Okay, so we won't use that. But let's say even just 5%. 5% of the $30,000, that's about $1,500. Okay. So the margin that you just saw me make of like the $1,200, that was a little bit under 5%. So to ask myself, okay, I found a good deal. It's showing signs of an uptrend, and the return to me, because of my account size and the percentage growth that it has to offer, and how that correlates on over to the monetary aspect of $1,500, that's worth the investment for me. Right. Okay. Even if you're starting with $1,000, right? $1,000, 5%, that's still not bad. I believe that's $50, right? yeah, $50. So again, that's not bad when it comes down to percentage growth. Okay. Realistically, for a lot of newer traders, to grow your account 1 to 3% a week, if you could do that as you're just getting started consistently, I would be super impressed. So it's for something to offer a 5% margin of profit within 1 day that's showing signs of an uptrend is something that's like, okay, that's pretty lucrative. It's a good investment. Like I would consider taking that position. And yeah, that's my opinion. If you're like, no, it needs to offer 10% margin of profit, all power to you, right? Like that's the thing that I was like talking to Miranda about, is that you just told me that your friend or your friends were like, no, don't get started with day trading. Maybe start more with, options, right? We know that it's a high risk, high reward type of thing. It's kind of make it or break it in my eyes. But again, obviously some people do very well with that. Right. I do very well with, either short-term swing trading or day trading. And, you could easily see that, right? And it's not even like, you could easily see that by like visiting us here, but you saw me trade, right? Yeah. You saw me like enter the position. I showed you that I was up like $400, and I believe 10 minutes later, it was $1,200, right? And again, like that's like the goal to have in mind, but you came in and you said like, hey Ricky, I plan to like enroll in your Learn Plan Profit course. And what did I tell you? Oh, you should enroll. It's the best course out there. What did I tell you? Do
it right now. No, you said you told me maybe learn a little bit more before you invest in the course.
The reason why is like, I want to make sure that if I was someone that's getting started in any market, that I'm guided in the right direction, right? Yes. And just like I said, I work really hard for my money, and I want to value everyone the same way. And $300 that the Learn Plan Profit costs, like it's not super, like I think it's inexpensive for what the course has to offer. Oh, definitely. But the $300 is still a lot of money, right? And I want to make sure that before you invest those $300, that you're at least like exposed to what the market has to offer, and to even see if you resonate well with it, if it's something that you actually have a passion for. That's much more important to me than rather than like you invest $300 into our group and then you end up finding 1 month down the road that, wow, if I would like it. I don't even like it. I don't work well with Ricky's style of trading. And this is not something that I want to do every day. And then you feel like you're at a loss. That would be my worst case scenario. Yeah. That's why I have such a huge focus in, again, if we could focus and dedicate a little bit more time for you to understand patterns. It's going to take time. So we went through a very quick example of what a horizontal pattern is. Right. And I can show you a couple of examples of ascending uptrend patterns, which are something that's shown inside of an uptrend, and a downtrend pattern. But there's so many like mistakes and best practices that you have to do yourself. And that's why you're paper trading, because you're going to focus on this. When it comes down to direction, it's very easy to say, okay, I'll only invest in things that are showing signs of an uptrend. But trust me, when you get FOMO, the fear of missing out on certain stocks, right? There's a huge emotional aspect to trading that is much easier said than done. And that's why I just want this to be something that you write down and that you work on as time goes on. And then focusing on something that's a good deal. Again, much easier said than done, because I can say like, okay, only buy things from this point forward that are good deals. But to put it into perspective, if you find some really cute shoes on the shelf and you're just like, they're not good deals, but they look so cute, I want to buy them, right? It's now you're becoming emotional. Same thing when it comes down to trading. You might have a passion for it, as you know, a lot of you guys know that have ever watched any of my videos. Sometimes I tend to overtrade. So you told me like, or asked me, why don't I sit behind my computer all day and trade? Because of overtrading, because there's always not these good deals. So if we focus on the premise that, hey, I only want to focus on good deals and I will only take advantage of opportunities that are good deals, that doesn't mean that I have to be behind my computer screen all day. Of course, I'd love to, and if I continue to make $1,200 in 10 minutes, then yes, trust me, I would be behind my computer every single moment, right? But the principle is that, you know, we have to wait for these good deals. We have to be patient for the direction, and we have to take time to understand patterns.
Okay. My question for you in regards to this stuff is, what is the ideal time span to look at for certain trends? Is it within the day? Is it, you know, a week, 30 days?
Yep. So I think that's a really good question. So more of like time frame. So we're on the 1 day, 1 minute chart. I think a question to like respond to that would be more asking yourself, are you planning on swing trading something, so holding it for a number of days, or are you planning on day trading something, which means buying and selling it within the same day? So if you're planning on swing trading something, the time frames that I like to look at are the 180 day 1 hour chart, the 180 day 4 hour chart, and the 20 day 1 hour chart. Larger time frames, so I get more. So if I plan on holding, and it makes sense, right? So if I plan on holding something for a longer period of time, for let's say like even 3 to 5 days, if I just look on the 1 day, 1 minute chart pattern, I'm only giving data from within the past 24 hours.
Right, okay.
So does it make sense that if I plan on holding something for multiple days to only look at data for 1 day?
No.
But if I plan on holding something for, let's say, a week, wouldn't it make sense then to look maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks back to understand its direction, to understand if I'm getting a good deal, to understand its patterns? Same thing when it comes down to day trade. Sometimes you're just going to be like, I really want to day trade something today. Then if you want to buy and sell something within the same day, then it would be more important to, like, would it be as effective? There's nothing wrong with doing it, but wouldn't it be more effective for you to look at patterns that are more relevant? Because something that happened a year ago might not be as important to like what's going on today.
Okay.
So I would look at the timeframes that I look at for day trades are the 1 day, 1 minute chart, the 1 day, 5 minute chart, and the 5 day, 5 minute chart.
Okay.
And I'll write this all down for you.
Okay.
Oh, you'll get to take this video home. But yeah, well, all right. Let me get another question. Is there anything else that?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not so far.
So obviously there's a huge, you also asked, I think that's something very important for people to know is like setting up this TOS, right? And you also asked like, what's the time frame for someone to like learn more and be more consistent and self-sufficient in investing in the stock market? I think it has a lot to do with the way that you learn. I was someone that was very like, I had to learn from my mistakes for the material to stick. And I can try to read or I could try to watch as many videos as I can, but when you take in so much information at one time, first of all, I don't think you'll stick as effectively, and if you don't practice it and implement it, it really doesn't stick for me. So I actually just uploaded a video on YouTube not that long ago that talked about how important it was for me and for our traders within Learn, Plan, Profit, that if you're really someone that's trying to take trading seriously or any market seriously, like the way to successfully learn about any market is that, like right now you're very excited, right, to learn more about the stock market and what it has to offer because you're like, wow, this is exciting, this is new. But if you were to obsess yourself about this, and I'm asking you, let's say it consumes 3 hours of your day every day for the next month, and all you're doing is obsessing, learning more about it, you begin to implement it, and then guess what? You end up experiencing losses, and what do you think will happen?
Obviously you'll learn faster.
But what do you think will happen is if someone invests like weeks and months of their time to learn about this new market and then they end up failing right away?
Oh, you get so discouraged also?
Right? It's like, especially for people that are just starting, just to make money right away. That's why I told you, like, right, if this is like something that you're trying to like learn to try to make money right away, there's a huge risk in that because you become very aggressive. I think that it would become much more self-sufficient, and the whole learning experience would be much better for newer people is if you dedicate, like, let's say 20 to 30 minutes a day consistently to always learn something new, to practice it, to implement it, to know if it worked or if it didn't work, and to start doing this on a consistent basis to refine yourself as like, and to develop your own eye for value, like of what the material that you're trying to learn. And on top of that, to not let it infringe on your day-to-day life as a student, as a worker, as a daughter, as a friend, right? With everything that you have going on, to not let the learning, like the time that you dedicate to learn and practice infringe on your day-to-day life, to always keep it exciting so you always crave to want to learn more. And I think if you do that and you hold yourself back and you restrict yourself on how much time you invest in this market, the more you'll crave it, the more you'd be motivated to learn, and you'll be more empowered to learn rather than to chase the dollar value.
Sounds good.
But
sounds like a plan.
So, but that's really just it when it comes down to the basics. I'm going to go more into detail with you when it comes down to patterns. I'll give you a couple more examples of direction. And then when it comes down to the premise of a good deal, I'll go over a couple more examples of that. But how do you, like, when it comes down to like these 3 principles, I think as long as you, like, I'm going to have a little checklist for you that you'll be able to take home. So anytime, like, as you're practicing and trying to take a position, that you can quickly like review the little checklist and then just remind yourself that, hey, I need to make sure that it meets my criteria and that I'm not just throwing my money at any stock that I'm being told to trade, or that any stock that I don't understand the pattern of, the direction of, or that if it's a good deal.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay?
Yeah.
Alrighty, so, alright guys, thank you guys again so much for watching. If there's anything that I can do to better assist you, feel free to comment down below. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about what I do on a day-to-day and would like to work with me closer, all you have to do is click that first link in the description to stay connected and to learn more about being able to watch me trade live every single day and be able to have access to the Learn, Plan, Profit course. I also do want to give a shout out to Miranda, so thank you again so much for tuning in. If she's okay with it, I'll probably end up plugging her Instagram down if you guys want to end up following her. What do you?
Sounds good. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. But yeah, that's really just it. So how do you feel? Good?
Feel great.
Okay.
Feel ready.
Sounds good. So we're going to take a little break and then we'll get back to it. Thank you guys again. Like always, continue working hard, continue following your dreams. Let your passion be what drives your success. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.